Today's video is sponsored by Cook Unity.
And that's the tea.
And that's the tea.
And that's the tea. Hi, Ugly. It's me, Bussy Winehouse, and welcome back to Hot or Hot.
And today we'll be reviewing the premiere of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 17.
Which means we've taken yet another trip around the sun together, and so to you I say Happy New Year. And also, thank you for being here. Because first of all, little gay me never thought I'd be making videos about Drag Race for a living. Much less did little gay me think I'd be celebrating my 6th year of doing this. From the bottom of my rotted, cold, dead heart, I say, thank you for making all this possible. Anyways, in today's episode, our queens were asked to split themselves into 2 groups. One to perform in this episode's Queen's Got Talent show, and another to perform in next week's Queen's Got Talent show. And every queen hit the runway. Category was Mask for Masked Singer. But there was a twist, cause y'all wanted a twist, eh? Rate a Queen is back again, and the queens who were watching this week are the queens who are rating this week's performances. And the guest judge joining this premiere is Women's World singer Katy Perry. Now, let's tear these bitches apart. First up in an alphabetical order, in case you forgot, it's Acacia Forgot, who on the runway has the concept of serving snowman melting in a global warming crisis where she goes from snow to ho. And as Acacia goes down the runway, elements of her costume are lost, revealing that our snowman is actually a burlesque diva. And I'll say I do like the political commentary of using the Drag Race runway to talk about global warming while also subverting that concept into a burlesque fantasy. But some of the execution here felt a little bit off to me and kind of mascot-y in a way, especially with that outer layer. And stylistically, I was a little confused by the burlesque situation of it all because she has on this big pageant hair that doesn't exactly say pinup to me. And there's something very equestrian about the way those black straps are laying on that fabric that I just can't shake. And sadly, I must say, I think our snowman got himself a little bit too hot and melted into a rat. And over in the challenge, Acacia is performing an original country song where she is live singing and playing the guitar. And she was trying to tell this story about being attracted to a cowboy and wanting to ride some bulls while using the bull riding as a metaphor for, of course, riding the cowboy. Which is all fine and dandy, but lyrically, I think that's a lot for the Drag Race stage, especially when the vocals are, let's be honest, not like giving Adele. And the guitar playing was not giving, I don't know, Led Zeppelin. And the whole thing kind of left me just wondering, like, why is she doing this performance in drag at all? Because it came across as a song she wrote in her boy persona and then just happens to perform in her drag persona. There was no thread of connection between this song and Acacia Forgot, which, like, who is she? We still don't even know. However, I do want to commend her on bringing some actual tangible talents to the Drag Race talent show. But without that wow factor and reason for drag, I'm just gonna leave this performance at a warming up. And next up, are you ready? It's Arrietty, who on the runway describes her look as tribal elven goddess. And all I gotta say is, wow. This aesthetically is, I don't even know what this is, but she knows what this is. And I know that she knows what this is based on how she is presenting it. And it is insanely good. She's giving me Lord of the Rings. I was gonna say other fantasy movie things, but I don't really know any other ones, but she is giving me Lord of the Rings down. And she's got this fun storyline where she's talking about how her people have poisoned her and that's where all the wounds are coming from, where she has decorated this beautiful gown, that could be a wedding gown, with like red crystals and red trips. And there's so much to love about this, I could go on all day, but like the cape, the train, the way the mask was also a headpiece, and then also, I don't know, like a parasol at the end as she's walking off of the runway. This look is drop dead gorgeous and so sick and so unique. I love it, and I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 flames. To quote Katy Perry, she ate, she chewed, she swallowed. Which reminds me, I'm starving. But after a long day of drag and drama, the last thing I want to do is spend hours toiling away in the kitchen or overspend on eating out. Whatever shall I do?
Oh, hey, Bussy, have you ever heard of Cook Unity?
No, what's that?
Cook Unity is a chef-to-consumer meal service delivering fresh, never frozen, restaurant-quality meals directly to your doorstep. They've got over 300 meals to choose from with options for every dietary preference.
That's tell me more.
I'd love to. Every Cook Unity meal is made with love in small batches using locally sourced produce and responsibly raised meats. And some of my favorite meals from my last delivery included Chef Nahika Hillary's fiery turkey stuffed poblano pepper, Chef Maribel Rivero's cheesy chicken and chipotle enchiladas, and Chef Chris Rattel's rainbow grain salad with grilled salmon. And unlike other ready-to-eat meal services, I found Cook Unity's portions to be generous and actually fill me up. And I love being able to reference calories and macronutrient information right on the front of the package. And let me just say, Cook Unity is not just good for a meal service, It's good, period. And just as good, if not better than restaurants. And it's certainly better than whatever I could dream of cooking in my kitchen. With Cook Unity, I can have anything from Thai yellow curry to chicken shawarma ready in just 2 to 3 minutes at like half the price of what it would cost to get the same thing eating out.
Wow, what now?
Use the link in the description of my video to try Cook Unity today. When you do, you'll get 50% off your first order of chef-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Thanks Cook Unity for sponsoring today's video.
But over in the challenge, we see that all hot things must at times cool off. Miss Arrietty gives us a little bit of an original lip-sync flamenco dancing track situation that starts off with a lip-sync in Spanish where she's playing with her fan, and then for the better part of the performance turns into her doing flamenco dress spinning of sorts, which is cute. Like, she looks adorable in this dress. And the spinning is fun. But as the judges and her fellow cast members were asking, where was this going? And why did we do it? The style was kind of like Acacia's, where she took us to one place, stayed there the entire time, and never explored any subversion or added any wow factor layers to enhance the performance. And I don't personally know the ins and outs of flamenco dress spinning, but I will say what she was doing didn't look particularly choreographed. Like, she could have improv this and I would have been none the wiser. And maybe she did. But all this performance made me was dizzy. So I'm gonna give it a rat. And next up, it's Crystal Envy, one of our watchers tonight, who on the runway done already had baby dollses and is giving us cracked porcelain baby doll fantasy. And really, this look was such a gag, because when she turned that corner, I don't know like what I was expecting, but it certainly was not that crazy giant baby doll cracked mask. Say crack again. And I certainly didn't expect the reveal to happen the way that it did, because when she hits the end of the runway, the mask opens up and reveals it's being supported somehow on her head. And she just kind of like opens it and closes it, opens and closes it, has some fun with it while she's dressed like a creepy doll and also has porcelain cracks in her actual face. And while I'll say I don't really care personally for the aesthetic of like the pink blue baby doll dress thing, I really gotta give it to her here for the creativity and vision she had for this look overall and the execution of how that mask played out, because this was hot. And next up, she was hand selected by Rupaul. It's Hormona Lisa, who we learn, and I don't know how I missed this in the Drag Race drama sphere last year, is the Queen Rupaul essentially cast at one of her book tour stops in Atlanta. In a video shared on X last year, we can see Ru talking to Hormona on stage, where we see Hormona trying to give Rupaul her audition tape, which is on a USB flash drive, and Rupaul just says, "You're coming to Hollywood, this was your audition." And over on the runway, she stirred up a little bit of a stink for herself, giving us some skunk fantasy. And as far as the mask for Masked Singer situation, I think she really committed to that aesthetic and even kind of, I think, encroached like mascot territory with that head and that giant furry tail coming behind her dress, which I did appreciate the camp of. And I also thought she had some smart details on the gown, like using the white fabric over the black to create an extreme hourglass figure. And what she's presenting here overall fits the brief and is pretty. And I'm gonna give this a hot. And next up, it's Jules Sparkles, who, let's cut the shit. This runway was one of the best of the entire night, period. She says the inspiration for this look is Ariana Grande invited to a masquerade ball in the 60s. And I absolutely see the softness and prettiness of the Ariana inspiration, all that beautiful applique on the bodice and on the mask, and how the density changes on there with those fan spreads. Woo! This is a great look. And it all just fits her like a glove, and she looks so beautiful and so snatched, and like, I just really love this look. It is hot. And over on the challenge, she performs an original number called La Leche. But before we talk about what had happened there, I just want to give y'all the context that she had filled us in with being, she's had 3 or more spinal surgeries. And at one point, because of their surgery, she even had to relearn how to walk. Now with that in mind, let's take a look at all of the crazy stunts and tricks she pulled during her performance, where she teaches us about the importance of La Leche with lyrics like, "My milk is stupid tasty. My babies need some food. And don't you cry, because mommy's coming with a full supply," period. See, like, if you're gonna have lyrics in these Drag Race tracks, they need to be ridiculous, understandable, and short and to the point. And she lip-synced to all that with perfect choreography for the track. And honestly, what sold it for me, I think, was the way she was whipping around that 80, 100-inch ponytail. Plus, she had peaks and valleys in her performance, like with the remix at the end where she stops in the middle of everything and asks Rupaul, "Wait, do you even know Spanish?" And then, of course, finishes with some more splits, tricks, dips, and hair whips. This was delicioso and hot. And overall, I just have to comment that I really enjoyed Jewel Sparkle so much throughout this entire episode, and this felt like such a great launching point for her in this season. And next up, it's our #1 Katy cat, Joella. Don't forget the Ella, who was literally recognized in the workroom by Katy Perry, I guess for having been a long-time fan. And Joella shares the story of how Katy Perry helped her through some of those darker times. And so this was a really fun reunion to see, because usually the queens know the guest judge, but for the guest judge to know the queens, that's the gag of the season. And over on a runway far, far away, Joella is giving us a space-themed fantasy, where the mask is of course the moon, and then she's the woman in the celestial galaxy dancing around, I think was the intent here. And my first thought seeing this look was I wish the mask was more of an actual mask, because it kind of just felt like a thing that she held up as a prop with no like perceivable eye holes, or like it just wasn't part of the costume. It was two separate things, the mask and then the costume. But mask aside, I think what she was serving in the cat suit was pretty. I really enjoyed the wig with all those rhinestone details, and I like the shooting star elements coming off of some of the waist peplum frill. It's girly, it's cutesy, and overall pretty, and I think just glitzy and glammy enough for me to give this a warming. And over on the talent show, Miss Joella is giving us an original talent/lip sync performance, where she sings lyrics such as "I am Joella, so you could never," and has a catchy chorus in the track singing "Joe, but don't forget the Ella." And this wasn't my favorite performance tonight, but I do think she had a good energy on stage, and her chorus in her song was at least catchy. Like, who is gonna forget Joe, but don't forget the Ella? But I do wish the performance was just a little bit more than her walking around the stage, because there weren't really any gaggy tricks or stunts that she pulled, and there were no props or anything to enhance the visual component of what was happening in front of us. So I'm gonna give this like a soft rot. But don't forget the Ella. And next up, another watcher tonight, we've got Kori King, who says her concept for the runway is Evil Raven, and talks about how this look is showing some versatility because she typically is a blonde and bubbly type of queen, which I think was an interesting commentary for her to make on her looks this early in the season, because the judges are not really gonna know that she's a blonde and bubbly queen yet. And if the first thing they're seeing is this crazy dark gothic Raven look, well then that's probably who they're gonna think that she is, which isn't a bad thing because this look is great. The all black sequins and the I don't know how many feathers it took to make this look are absolutely gorgeous. The silhouette is beautiful. The way it moves is awesome. And the mask is pretty cool. I just wish she would have played with it a little bit more on the runway, or at least maybe added some details in her makeup to reflect what was happening in the scariness of the mask. So I'm gonna give this look a hot. And next up, meow. It's Lana, who in the runway is giving us furry cat fantasy inspired by her actual pet cat, Gouda, which as a cat mom myself is just about the cutest thing I could ever imagine someone doing on the Drag Race runway. And I had a lot of fun with this look, but I think some of the details on the execution were lacking for me. For example, I wanted some fur on the catsuit part of the body instead of just doing the painted rhinestone body stocking thing. I also wanted her to spend a little more time in that mask because she opens it up as soon as she hits the runway, and then you can immediately see it becomes a struggle for her to position properly as she's taking her steps on the catwalk. See what I did there? But she's like holding it and it's bouncing and it's kind of awkward, and so some proportionizing I think would have been excellent here as well. But this was really silly and cute, and so I'm gonna leave it with a soft hot. And next up, another watcher tonight, it's Lexi, who on the runway is bringing us right into award season dressed as the MTV's Moon Person Award statue. And for Lexi to dress as the Moon Person on a show that is being aired on MTV is pretty funny in and of itself. But I also love that a lot of people probably look at this Moon Man statue and think, man, but she here has subverted that and said, no, 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 there's not a man on this moon. It's a whoa man, alien with antenna. I don't know why I did that 3 times. Okay. And yes, this moon woman does have a perfectly snatched waist, even in their astronaut jumpsuit. This look is just really well done, top to bottom, and so creative, and so fresh, and so fun, and I love it, and I'm gonna give it a hot. And if y'all want some tea, there was a video that surfaced where she was doing an interview with Ricky Cornish, where she says she has apparently taken out a second mortgage on her home just to pay for her runway package. And that's the tea. And next up, it's Thank Your Lucky Stars. Oh, I just want to start off by complimenting their entrance look, because of all the entrance looks, this was insanely good and should not go unrecognized. And it's so insane and creative and beautiful and weird, and I love it. And her look on the runway is also really fun and stupid and creative and cool. She is dressed as a pizza with the pizza box as the mask. And I really enjoy how there's like a larger than life TV quality to her drag. I did kind of want something more from the mask just being a pizza box though, because it kind of just came off as a giant white square that was ultimately a sideshow to the coolness of her look, and it could have been better integrated into the full fantasy. Overall though, Miss Lucky is serving up a hot slice tonight. And in the challenge, she is giving us a demonstration on how to make lemonade, I suppose, where she lip sync raps about giving out the treat of lemonade from her lemons to all of the thirsty, heated up people of the world. And the gag of her performance is, of course, the activation of those lemons she's wearing to squirt juice all over the stage. And this is so stupid in a good way. It's simple, it's effective, and it's also a performance that doesn't overstay its welcome. Plus, half of what's so amazing here is just how amazing she looks in this crazy lemonade lemon costume. When life gives you lemons, squirt 'em. This performance was hot. And next up, it's Lydia B. Kollins, who on the runway says her concept is giving an alien woman sentenced to the intergalactic Iron Maiden for crimes against her planet. Storyline? Check. But the actual execution of the look, it was very, I think, confusing visually. Because first she's got this giant like stone or metal tablet that's a mask, which she casts aside to reveal another mask, which is kind of like a pinhead thing, which she then also takes off to reveal another mask, which is, I think, evoking the idea of the Iron Maiden with the spikes around her face. And all of this mask theater was cool in a way, but I really was sitting there trying to figure out what and why the actual storyline of the change of the masks was. And was also thinking that a lot of the details of this look felt lumpy. Like, I wanted more clean lines and tighter tailoring in the costuming, and this look just wasn't that. I was overwhelmed, and I'm gonna give it a hot. And over in the challenge, Miss Lydia B. Kollins serves up some burlesque puppetry, which, to her credit, starts off really interesting, at least, because we see this giant slug of like a drag queen woman puppet walk out onto the stage, and Lydia's inside of the puppet moving the lips as if it were her lip syncing to the track that we're hearing in the background. But she kind of hangs out in this costume for a while, and I think one piece of it maybe comes off, and the pit crew holds it up so that she can walk out of it. But after she walks out of it, there's nothing else really that happens. She just kind of stands there and finishes the lip sync, I think taking one final piece off the puppet. But the puppet was so misshapen and lumpy and like floppy looking that the reveals weren't really giving gaggy reveals. Even though the thing is, like, I see the version of this performance that would have been really cool if it were executed correctly. But this wasn't that night and there weren't enough layers present to make that happen, so I'm gonna give this a rot. And next up, she's ready to get Onya Nurve, who on the runway, stay with me, says, this gown and mask is inspired by a body of artwork that she produced, made with materials that you would typically find in the beauty supply store, afro picks, earrings, and weave. And I'm not sure if she means that there's another piece of artwork that she has physically created that inspired this look, or if she's intending to say that the mask and dress are the artwork she's created. But either way, I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. I'm really not sure what I'm looking at, especially with the mask. There's like a silver component, and then there's what appears to be like a scrunched up green tissue with rainbow hair pieces on top and black hair pieces on bottom. She then also has this dress situation that is more of that. And by more of that, I mean everything in that beauty supply store she could find from top to bottom. She cleared out every single shelf, got the kitchen sink, the neighbor's missing cat, and also Balloon Boy. It is like the physical embodiment of look over there. And it feels like more of a vision board than an actual executed garment. Oh my God. It's like one of those I Spy books like that we had when we were kids. Do you remember? You would open it and there'd be a collage of items, random items, and you had to find specific ones. That's what this is giving. She's giving I Spy. Love that for her. And if this runway were meant to be I Spy, then she would have got 5 out of 5 flames. However, it was not, so I'm giving this look a rot. And next up, it's Sam Starr, who's giving us a little stormy weather with a chance of gay, who talks about how this cloud headpiece slash mask is a reference to the darkness of living in the closet. But then when it comes off, she's giving capital G-A-Y Rainbow Queen, ready for her pride gigs. And Sam, I think tonight is one of the shining examples of really incorporating who she is as a drag queen into her runway. And Sam did that in a personal, touching, and relatable way, while also looking drop dead gorgeous. This look is hot. And next up, she's been tap dancing for 10 long years. It's Suzie Toot. And Miss Toot hits the runway in a dime mask with the custom lettering, "In Toot We Trust," where she very cleverly can actually see out of the front of the coin we see as she turns around. And she's got her signature 20s, 30s vaudevillian stage girl theater thing going on with this style. And Michelle makes the comment to the other judges she wishes Suzie had kept the mask on because she wasn't a fan of Suzie's signature makeup, which I think is worth talking about because her makeup is going to be polarizing, I think, to people watching the show. It's a choice. It is an aesthetic choice, and actually it's an aesthetic choice that I like personally because it's a signature look that, you know, not many people who aren't at least 100 years old have. But seriously, I think the look is cute and smart to stand out. So I'm gonna give this a hot. And Miss Suzie actually closed out our talent show in today's episode by tap dancing to an original track, which opens up with her lip syncing to a song about toots. Lots of toots. Boy toots, men toots, and how all the boys toot for Suzie Toot. And she is, of course, tap dancing throughout the performance, and at one point even delivers the Gettysburg Address in Morse code with her tap shoes, which of course leaves RuPaul howling in laughter. I actually really love a good tap performance, and I laughed at the silly jokes she made and enjoyed how she really took us on a journey and had payoff. This performance was which brings us to our Rated Queen twist, because y'all wanted a twist, eh? And our 7 watching queens tonight ultimately vote via the Rated Queen system Jewel Sparkles and Suzie Toot as their top 2, and Acacia Forgot as their bottom. But there is some tea here, because we do know, according to their own confessionals, that Arrietty and Lana have actually made an alliance to basically vote each other in the top slot to make sure that they didn't end up in the bottom. Which honestly is pretty smart strategy that I think more than just those 2 queens were doing, because it didn't totally make sense to me to have Acacia in the bottom placement. And my personal Rated Queen ranking of these talent show numbers tonight would have been Jewel, Suzie, Lucky, Acacia, Arrietty, Joella, and then Lydia. But I want to know down in the comments below what your ranking was, because I'm curious to know if y'all thought Acacia deserved this bottom placement, or if you were more in line with me where you thought maybe she was more middle of the pack. And in the grand tradition of Drag Race premieres, our top 2 are going to be lip syncing for the win this week. And so we get Suzie Toot versus Jules Sparkle to Katy Perry's Woman's World, which I will firstly point out is chronologically interesting, because usually I believe they film these seasons during June or July, and this song Woman's World was released on July 11th, 2024. Which means either these queens learned a new song that hadn't been released to the public yet, or at bare minimum, they had just a week or so of knowing it existed before they were told it was gonna be their lip sync track. Anyways, lip sync was actually really great. I enjoyed both performances, but I was gagged that they gave the win to Suzie. Because yes, she gave us some comedy, she gave us some funny, but Jewel Sparkle was like eating all over that stage. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, rolling, twisting, tricking, splitting, all of it. Whipping the hair again. And you know, maybe RuPaul was thinking, we already saw all of that. But also we already saw all of the tap dancing. And I will say, we couldn't really hear the tap dancing during the lip sync, so maybe that was affecting my perception of the performance. But it is possible that the judges were able to hear it and it made Suzie's performance more noticeable and stand out better. Food for thought. And so Suzie secures her first win in season 17, and Acacia is lined up for a bottom 2 lip sync in next week's episode. As for my final thoughts, this episode actually got me really excited for season 17, and I know some of my ratings of the talent show may not reflect my excitement, but this cast seems so interesting. Each of them are such personality standouts, with like Lexi Love, Kori King, Jewel Sparkle, Sam Starr, and Arrietty all seeming like queens that we should be watching and paying attention to. And I also love that they had a little bit of fun with this premiere doing that Squid Game intro, which also of course gave some fun cameo opportunities to queens like Kylie, Carrie, and Ginger Minj in the clown suit. And I know I didn't cover the entrance looks in detail, but honestly this video was long enough, and if you're looking for extra content, you can always find that on patreon.com/BussyQueen, where for every episode of Drag Race I review, I actually post a reaction video to some of the best parts of the episode, which may be up to an hour long. And so if you're looking for that, click the link below and come hang out with me and watch Drag Race. See you there. And now for hottest hots. On the runway, I'm gonna give it to Jules Sparkles. And in the challenge, I'm gonna give it to Jules Sparkles. I also asked my patrons to vote on their hottest hots. And in the runway, they give it to Jules Sparkles. And in the talent show, Suzie Toot.
And I want to give one more thanks to Cook Unity, the sponsor of today's video. I've absolutely loved eating Cook Unity meals, and I know you will too. So don't forget to use my link below and enter code BussyQueen at checkout to get 50% off your first order of chef-made meals delivered right to your door.
And I also want to give a special shout out to Day Gets Better, who just joined my Patreon at the hottest hot tier, and Ashton, Felicia, Laura, Matthew Burns, and Will and Tana, who are all supporting me at the Bussy Queen Collector tier at patreon.com/BussyQueen. See y'all later. Love ya. Bye. And that's the tea.